Hi, this is Growing Up Aspen, Joiners Table podcast with Andy Collin and Chris Pomeroy. And today we're joined with Lisbeth Odén.
I just felt like we were back in school and you were fussing with something.
Yeah, now that my kids are old enough and we found out that they all have ADD and ADHD and all that, I'm sure that was what was going on with me and a few.
Oh, we all have.
Friends,
Amy's going through that now,
yeah,
realizing, if you're creative, you got it.
Yeah.
When my son is off the chart dyslexic, and when we moved to Scottsdale for him to go to a special ed school, and they put him through all the testing, and then we sat down for this for the meeting, and they started talking about all the different ways that Zach perceives his world, and the written word and spoken word and all this. And in my mind, I'm going, yeah, check, check, check. Yeah. And at the end of the meeting, I went, just asking, all those things you just went through, those aren't normal. Is that right? And they're like, that's correct. Somebody that has all that is very ADD and very dyslexic and has auditory processing and all this other stuff. And I went, okay, well, I resonate with every single thing you just said.
Yeah.
It's funny because our generation is the one, and I swear there's some damage done there, but I mean, everything like that, if you're like, get over it, get your ass moving, get on the chairlift or something, you'd be like, nowadays I'm like, I have to be patient about that. Are you kidding me? My kid is driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get it now. I get it.
Yeah. And it wasn't, if you got paddled, you weren't considered abused.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't so much of that in my family, but
no, mine either.
There was the toxic, it was endemic at the time. Andy and I were just talking about it. Some of the coaches were involved in it. I mean, it's a generational thing. You remember Smear the Queer?
Yeah.
That was dodgeball for us. That's what the coaches called it. That's what everybody called it. And it's like, by today's standards, no way would that fly. No way would that fly.
Well, and the hazing that went on in high school.
Yeah.
That, pushing a penny across the stage with
your nose. I forgot about that.
Yeah. They made a lot of people.
I got stuck doing that a couple times.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I got lucky. I had Eric Clandred was my bodyguard. So just like that movie, Eric Clandred was my bodyguard. So I got lucky. And that was probably because I was in baseball and I was so short, but I could run, I could hit, I could catch. And so everybody was like amazed that I could keep up with everybody else.
Nice.
I earned a little respect on the field, Yeah,
it sounds like it. Yeah, I just got to the point that if I had to go from point A to point B and it involved going across the commons, I went outside.
Yeah.
We
all did that walk.
Over in that door and just walk through that door because I'm not going to walk across that goddamn commons.
Yeah, you think about it. Think about it now. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there was a kid we went to school with that would bring copper and PVC tubing to school.
Oh,
and he would take a piece of cloth and a thumbtack, and shoot it into people's backs and legs, and it was like a dart.
Yeah,
and that was part of
hazing. You have to PM me what that is because I don't know who that is.
I do. I actually remember watching this, going, "Ooh, gosh!" At least I'm glad I'm on the other side.
A little out there, but
when
that was part of the hazing.
You're going to have to share that.
Acceptable,
Yeah. Well, you have people buy their belts in the locker room.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about too the guys showing up to school with the guns in the back of their trucks, in the gun rack.
Or else someone like John Galore, who was like Mr. Inventor dude that just had fun making stuff and would come to school with like a throwing star made out of a saw blade. And you're like, oh my God, John.
Exactly.
For a while there, I was afraid he was going to be the Unabomber, but he is the nicest guy. He's amazing. And
he's amazing, yeah.
He was just a creator guy. He just liked to build things.
Yeah, no, we had some, and the DeWolfs
Yeah.
I mean, Ivan and Quentin and even Thalia and Vanessa.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so brilliant and so amazing.
And Ivan,
But-
yeah.
They did not fit in to Save Their Ever-Loving Life because they're just off in their own amazing universe of creativity and mental thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Alexander, and there was I think, how many of them were there? Was 5, or I thought it was more than that.
Oh no, it's a pretty big, again, they're like Amy's family. There's a big generation span between all of them. There's Alexander, there's
Don't know him.
there's a bunch of them. I mean, Quentin was a senior when I was a freshman, I think.
Okay, yeah, Quentin's where I start, and then the twins and Ivan.
Yeah, I jumped on the tramp with Thalia and Ivan
Okay,
on the tramp. So I was in that generation. Do you remember Nicholas Holohan?
of course.
Yeah, he had the ping pong table, so we'd go play ping pong at his place, and then right
Nice.
across the street were the DeWolfs with their trampoline. So it was between the two places.
Nice. How fun.
Which, you know, it's so funny is with Ivan, I came here to Portland in search of, animation because of the Fenton Studios here. They did the California Raisins back in the day. They did a lot of clay animation. So I came up here and got to meet some of the guys. And one of the guys that was in charge was named Hal Hickel. And he was kind of the tech guy. But once animation started to change, he ended up jumping on the tech wave, and he went and worked on Toy Story.
Oh, wow.
Then he ended up going to ILM, and his first real gig at ILM, being sort of the head production person of it, was Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, my goodness.
So everybody here in town is like, yay, we're rooting for him to win the Oscar. Oh my God, he's going to get the Oscar. Cool. Yes. They show all the underwater footage with the lights coming through and the waves underneath the ocean floor and everything. And that's when he goes to get his awards. And he goes up and gets his awards, and we're all cheering and everything. Week later, I get in touch with Ivan on the phone just to say hi and see what he's doing and all that stuff. And so he goes, hey, let me show you some of what I've done. So he sends me a link to these videos of these effects that he did on Pirates of the Caribbean. And it was those exact same shots that they used at the Oscars.
God, how cool is that?
And I'm like, holy crap, do you know Hal Hickel? And he goes, yeah, Hal was my boss.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
It's like,
That's awesome.
and so that's, for me, my Aspen, Portland world is a lot like that.
Yeah.
Where I have a lot of those kind of weird things. And it's so cool to see Ivan in that.
Yes.
Because as a kid, he was, I felt like, I mean, I know I heard stories with Mark where he was sort of picked on by.
He was relentlessly ostracized.
Yeah. And, I don't know whether that was because of his dad or because of Ivan. I don't know. But in any case,
It's probably
was being
because he
picked
was
on.
so smart. He probably made the teachers feel inadequate without even trying.
Picked on from the teachers. At Country Day, he was just so eccentric. Because he and I were there together, and he and I were the ones that were ostracized and picked on the most.
Sucks.
And it was just because he was the most eccentric and just, very ADD, very creative, and just it was, he was bored out of his ever-loving mind, would be my guess, in class.
Yeah.
So he was just doing whatever Ivan does because he was 10 steps ahead of all of us.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of it was he just sort of felt like, yeah, okay, that's easy stuff. And so he just wasn't really in it, and the teachers would nail him for that, which.
Yeah. And then the kids would too. And unfortunately, the climate of Country Day at the time was very toxic.
Yeah.
There was one teacher that if you didn't get the problem that was being presented, he would sit back in his chair and pretend to fall asleep and get the whole class to pretend to fall asleep while you tried to sit there and figure out the math problem.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah.
And if you got it wrong, he would laugh and get the whole class to laugh at you. And I was the victim of that relentlessly. And then many years later, up at Andre's, I was old enough to be in Andre's. I think it was Ebby's at this point. And I'd had just one enough drinks. And this particular teacher came in the room and I saw him there. And I walked up to him and just laid into him. And what a complete jackass I thought he was. And he just, I mean, the longer I went and I was dressed to the nines, I could have walked a runway in that particular moment. Yeah. I looked good, and I know I looked good. Yeah. And certainly not that waif that he was used to.
Yeah.
And I just walked up and filleted him, and his jaw was just like. But he's the only teacher really out of
a lot,
out of a really big picture. We had amazing teachers and we had amazing schools. The hubs of the high school, I thought created, the way we'd all hang out in the hubs, in the commons. They can't do that now because of school shootings. So everything now has to be this different thing. But here we just had these great corners that we could all hang out in, and the theater where we could all sit, and it just it enhanced our sense of community.
Thanks for listening. The authors of Growing Up Aspen would like to thank you, and would like to also thank the Aspen Times and the Aspen Daily News for giving us materials for our book, Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, which you can get at twistandturnpress.com and any local bookstore. Thanks.